Hello, the Super League trophy is once again spending its winter months here at Headingley. It was déjà vu in 2012 as the Leeds Rhinos ended as champions for the 5th time in 6 years. We'll be looking back at an eventful season which culminated in a sensational grand final at Old Trafford.
Tingling entrance on two sides, seeking one prize. Rugby League's title is up for grabs here again tonight. Here's Richie Myler with the opening try of the game. Touched on to Ablett, who looks for support, and he's got it in the shape of Kevin Sinfield. Then Jones Bishop, who shrugged off two to get over. An immortal scorer from a seemingly impossible position. Breers with the ball over the top. What a pass from Lee Breers. Joel Monahan with a catch and the finish. Adrian Morley, what a collision that was. And he gets up and gets on with it as if he was playing tin. Astonishing. There's the clash of heads. The clash of heads. Hodgson from dummy half goes left. Oh, Atkins is in! Ryan Atkins is in! Look from dummy half with a short pass, and Carl Abbott. Ryan Hall for the corner. Ryan Hall's impossibly winning. It is Leeds' year again, and what an impressive, magnificent performance they put in tonight. The Leeds Rhinos have just written another chapter of Rugby League history.
Just a few short weeks after their grand final success, the Rhinos coach Brian McDermott got together with his old boss Brian Noble in the Headingley dressing room to reflect on another title-winning season.
Yeah, it's remarkable, some of the things that's happened over the last 10 years, but within that 10 years, a 5th title in 6 years, I'm not sure it'll be done again, and the club will and the team will endeavour to try and continue to be successful, but it's a big achievement, that.
And to find yourselves 5th again after the regular season, to do it from 5th again, they're certainly not doing it the easy way for you, are they?
It's an interesting route, isn't it? There's a lot of similarities between this year and last year, but last year we found form towards probably for the last 8, 9, 10 games last year, where this year we had scratchy and indifferent form right up until the start of the playoffs. This year we've had some great wins, we've had some sensational wins and some really big performances. The Challenge Cup semi-final against Wigan, that will go down as one of the biggest wins that we've had, in my time as a coach, because of where we were and where Wigan were at the time in terms of form. But we have been, scratchy at times and very good at times, and we went into playoffs. We were a little bit not sure. Last year we went into playoffs, we were confident, we had a fair bit behind us. We had a Challenge Cup loss, but we performed really well and had a run of momentum behind us. But this year we pretty much didn't have too much momentum. So, and the run that we had in the playoffs, it makes it even a bit more, it gives you a sense of achievement because of the tough route we had in playoffs.
Do you see in the Leeds team something that you saw when you were the Bulls coach, that when Brian was playing, that you sometimes get in sport, this special group of players that come together when it really matters?
Yes, there's a short answer to your long question. A lot of similarities character-wise, differences in styles of play, things like this at times, but the Bradford team used to consciously 6 or 7 weeks out, pulling the oars, if you like, make sure that right for the next 7 weeks we're absolutely fully committed. And to do that, you've got to have a core of players that absolutely believe and dedicate themselves to the task at hand. And that's obviously very, very similar. But the manner in which Leeds did it, again, going back to the Catalan, I was in the airport straight after the game against the Catalan, and I saw the vinegar and the brown paper and the sticking plaster and the bodies lying around, and I thought, no chance next week in Wigan, deep down. And then I thought, you're a bit silly here, because you've been in situations yourself where you thought, you quietly question yourself and you quietly think, do you reckon? And can you smell it? Can you believe it? Can you sniff it? Have we got the game plan? Have we got the tools? And that confidence grows. And this might sound strange, and Brian might disagree with me, but...
Probably will do.
Yeah, we usually do. But the final, for me, was probably the easiest task. if that makes sense. Because along the way in the playoffs, if you're giving yourself a challenge from outside those top two, there's going to be a pivotal game where you're quite worried. and they bring it out of the bag. It might be one play or one break. You know, I remember the Ryan Bailey breakdown in Catalan when he went nearly the length of the field, and you thought, yeah, this could happen again. And absolutely, there are similarities to the team. The Leeds fans look like this, the Bradford Bulls teams, and vice versa. But yeah,
I think the point is, and I don't think for a minute you're saying that this team replicates Bradford Bulls.
No, I'm not.
But it's about people. Absolutely about people. And I've been saying since I've been coach of the team, he's already just said it. Sometimes it's not about technicalities. It's not about your tactical game plan. You know, and sometimes you can actually get that wrong. But the people drag it out the bag for you. The players drag it out of the bag, and I'm very fortunate the team's got some people who've been there, seen it, and done it. But it doesn't mean much if they don't still have it under there. You know, they've still got a fair bit under there. It's the people that make this team special. The players themselves, who they are, not how they pass and kick and how they tackle. It's who they are as people. When they walk around away from the club, that make this a special team.
Well, if you talk about great characters, you have to talk about Kevin Sinfield. He put in another man-of-the-match performance in the grand final. The Rhino skipper lifted the trophy for an unprecedented 6th time.
It's another grand final win for Leeds, and yet again, we need to talk about Kevin. An extraordinary performer at the heart of an extraordinary team. The Leeds Rhinos have just written another chapter of rugby league history.
They get better every year. They do. They get better every time. And we thought last year was special coming from 5th. But to be able to do it a second time, and if you look at the opposition we faced in the playoffs and where we had to go and what we had to do, we made it a little bit more difficult for ourselves this year. And you know, thankfully we were good enough on final day, and we got another win.
You know, I think the Leeds success over the last 10 years or so has been a lot down to Kevin.
He's a fantastic leader and even more just a great professional. When I joined Leeds, I really saw how to become a professional rugby league player, and Kevin Sinfield was sort of at the head of that. You know, watching him, how he conducted himself on and off the field, you know, how he trained, how he ate, you know, every little thing that he scrutinises rubbed off on me.
He's one of the players that can guide you through big games. You know, you can have all the flair and the passion and the enthusiastic youngsters, but you know what Kevin's got is experience in big games, and he never fails to deliver.
This is a potential match-winning moment, and who can bear to look? Kevin Sinfield. How many big occasions has he found himself in this situation, in these colours? A kick to potentially win the game and take Leeds back to the grand final. Here comes Sinfield. The champions are hanging on to their prize, and they will not let it go. And Kevin Sinfield is their hero again.
And probably no better bloke to go out there and lead a team, and even when on the field, no flusters him, he'll just direct us around the field without getting his head in a muddle or head too much in the game. He's just got a clear head.
Sinfield went in where it hurts to find success in 2012. He was man of the match in a grand final that he might not even have finished.
Oh, it's a clash of heads. The clash of heads. Boy, the Leeds need that player.
Yeah, I never sort of doubted that he wouldn't carry on, or if not, it would take a serious injury for Kevin not to carry on. So when he got up on his feet, I weren't shocked, and he went on and had a fantastic effort after that.
I've not had a chance to watch the game, and I'm sure there'll be some point in the off-season when I maybe sneak a little look, but he probably did me some good at knocking me out Monaghan, knocked a bit of sense in me.
I tell you this now, of all the sportsmen I have ever seen, this guy is the most impressive. They tried to knock you out, they tried to kick you where it hurts, you got up, you kept going, that was immense.
A big team effort.
It's obviously nice and really humbling that people say really nice things about you, but for me it was all about the team, and I'm playing a team sport, and I feel so fortunate. I play for a fantastic club with some great players, and throughout all that time I've made some great friendships. I've played with Danny now for maybe 12 or 13 years, and along with Jamie Jones and Rob Burrow and Ryan Bailey, we've seen everything that's happened since 2004.
Kevin Sinfield with a kick that could nail it. It'll be an 8-point game if he puts this over. Why ever pose the question of if when Kevin Sinfield is kicking for goal on these big occasions? Of course he nails it.
He's actually got a bit of OCD. You know, he sticks to his rhythms. You know, it probably shows in his goal kicking. You know, like it's the same routine every single time. It's same routine when he gets out of his car. There's a red light that flashes on his car when he locks it, and he has to watch it until it completely blinks out, and then he'll try it door even though he knows it's locked. He has some strange little things.
You know, he likes to play the odd joke, or he definitely don't forget things when jokes are played against him.
He might not come across that, in the games. He's really serious for that, for the 80 minutes and when the camera's on him. But in the changing rooms, like the pranks go on and all that sort of stuff. But if you ever get Kev, you're just going to get done 100 times worse straight away. No middle ground with him. It's just like bang. So yeah, you regret doing that straight away.
There's a lot of great kickers in rugby in both codes, but I wouldn't swap any of them for him. He's Mr. Cool, and he always delivers.
Maybe at the end of his career, he might have a look back and give himself a pat on the back there, because I'm sure everyone else does at the moment. But hopefully he can realise what heights he's hit throughout his career, when it's finished.
The heights I love playing, so the more games the better for me, as long as my body's all right. So I'm actually quite looking forward to next year and the challenge ahead for both club and country. So it should be exciting times.
Can you sum up what Kevin Sinfield is as a captain? I mean, he just seems to have been so phenomenal.
Probably not. I won't be able to sum it up in words now. He's clearly an exceptional player. He has some traits about him that make him a good player on the field. He can read a game. That's the thing with Kev. There's quite a few players that can pass and kick and step and make breaks and physically very good as players. But and Kev's got a fair bit of that. But he can read a game, Kev. He knows when it needs to be kicked long. He knows when he should go for the attacking kicks. And some of that leadership stuff, it's usually sometimes what he says, but sometimes what he does. It's hard to really put into words. But I think the single biggest thing with Kev is him. It's him as a bloke, him what he's like when he's not got a leader or nose top on, and when they're away from the club, how he lives his life. There's a fair bit in him. He's a fairly strong character. He's got a bit of an edge to him, Kev, which not many people see, and I'm very fortunate that I see. And if something's not right, he will come up straight up to you and say, that isn't right, that needs to change. Whether he's saying that to the head coach, or to Losey, my assistant, or to Jason Davis in the conditioner, or just to some players in the team. And it's a really uncomfortable moment when that happens, but it needs to happen. If something isn't right and we're in this environment where we are, where we get judged every single week, and people make judgments about whether we've done good or bad. And usually the people at the top cop for the flak, and Kev's at the top, and he usually cops for the flak if the team goes really poor. So he has this very demanding nature about him, of everybody that he works with. If it's not right, he'll tell you. It's hard to really encapsulate it or just to put it into one sentence what it is, but I think there's a whole range of things about why he's special. And you probably see all those traits when it gets tough. It's easy being great when you're a good team and winning every week, but to be great as a player and great as a leader when it's tough, I think that says more about him.
By the end of that grand final, by the end of the season, Kevin Sinfield had almost taken on legendary status. It must have made it an easy decision for Steve McNamara to make him the England captain.
Well, not easy, but I'm sure he rang Brian here and asked him his traits, but he certainly led the Leeds team magnificently towards the back end. But like you said, that honesty and trust he has both with the players and the coaching staff was there for all to see. And I like the fact that people are feisty, people approach and say, we don't think this is right. It means they care. And that care will reflect in his team and give him the direction and the authority, if you like, on the field to be trusted to implement ideas and actions that both Brian and James put into him. And that's the quality of the man, because he also can play as well, which helps. So he can change a game himself. If it's not his kicking game, it might be a short pass or an offload or the direction he gives his team. So it probably was a no-brainer for Steve McNamara to pick him there because of the form within and the absolute outstanding characteristics he showed going up towards the final. So in that respect, it was a no-brainer. But you also have to play. You can't rest on your laurels as a leader. You also have to play. And I use the expression silverbacks, i.e. that the senior, sometimes junior, if they've got a senior mind in your team, are out there doing it week in, week out. And as much as he likes to think he's still out there, he's not. And so you need that fresh information coming in all the time of actually what it's like out there. And the honest feedback is invaluable. But it's as a player as well that he's improved, that I think has improved over the years and become a better player, which means he's absolutely in the frame for international selection. To be selected as captain was probably the easiest part for Steve McNamara.
Well, there have been lots of plaudits for Kevin Sinfield, but it was Wigan's Sam Tomkins who was named Man of Steel. He is quite simply one of Super League's most exciting talents.
Tomkins, it's a cheeky little dolly by him, and then up he goes. Look at the pace here, has support on the outside. Curious stuff.
Been nominated in the top 3, and I was happy with that. But then to pick up the trophy was a massive honour. It just means a lot because it's voted for by other players, and I think if you ask any player you really want to impress most, it's your peers, people you play with and play against.
I don't like playing against people like Sam. He causes that much damage to the team. It's very rare that he has a quiet game. Every time I've played against him, he's caused havoc.
He's very, very quick, he's very strong, like for his size and stuff. I mean, nobody likes to play against him, let's be honest.
You get an headache really because you don't know what to do for the best sometimes, then he makes you look silly, like he'll just run past you, with the slightest of ease.
A big forward and nightmare actually, so nimble and good on his feet. He's a world-class player, and you don't become Man of Steel for nothing. Thoroughly deserves it. He's an incredible player. He's got incredible skill and talent. So yeah, he's only young as well, so he's got a huge future ahead of him.
He's real elusive and he's he's only slight, and people just expect to grab hold of him, but he's real strong and he's real agile, so it's it's pretty difficult getting hold of him.
He could be the sort of once in a generation type player, I think, and great bloke off the field as well. So yeah, something everyone gets along with. But yeah, some of the stuff that he does on the field is just so different and freakish that, yeah, like I said, he could be just one in a generation.
There's not many superstars in our sport. Sam's certainly one of them, and it's someone we can base the England team around for a number of years. But he's also, Super League is the figurehead really. So it's important he stays fit, stays healthy, and carries on doing what he's doing.
I want to be successful with Wigan. We're going to probably remember the semi-finals from previous season and think about how much we wanted it. We got the League Leaders Shield, which meant we're the most consistent team all year, but we don't kid ourselves into thinking it's equal to a grand final. That's the big one for us. The grand final, that's what we wanted, and the Challenge Cup as well, but not a lot will be changed. Sometimes it's the bounce of a ball, or it's things that are very fixable. There'll be no drastic change into preparation or anything like that. We're prepared perfectly well for the semi-final, and things just didn't quite click on the day. And the bounce of a ball, a knock-on, an error, a penalty, it can cost you a big game, and that's the lesson we've learnt this year.
Brian, Sam Tomkins is a very special player, isn't he?
And he's shown it week in, week out. I think that the true test of greatness, he says, all right, we'll put some game plans in, we'll put him under pressure, we'll kick to him this way, that way and the other way. And he comes up with something. His physical prowess and his athleticism is there for all to see, but he can play, he can see things. Some people are visionaries. He can see things that other people can't see and comes up with a game-breaking play. And every team likes that element of X-factor in there that it frustrates you a little bit sometimes because you, do something, but he produces, pretty much week in, week out. And that's the mark of quality. Probably the mark of going forward, greatness. I'm sure he'll want to be respected as one of the greats as he goes on. But it's pretty much doing the right thing at the right time.
You had Zach Hardacre come through from Featherstone here, young player of the season. You've had Chris Hill over at Warrington, who's come through from Lee. How important for players outside of the top flight to see that these guys from the Championship can make it at the top level? Yeah, it is. It's, I would say that's a significant part. There's quite a few players in the Championship. It's that could handle Super League week in, week out. We sometimes draw Championship clubs in the Challenge Cup early in the year, and sometimes it's a blowout score, and it's unfair to make a judgment that they're miles off Championship's miles off. It isn't, and there's quite a few players in that probably just need the chance. They just need an opening at a Super League club. Zach's done incredibly well. He came from Featherstone and had a bit of a bedding in period with us. Not just the actual standard of the game or the speed of the game, but just the lifestyle of a full-time rugby league player. And I should imagine Chris Hill's had a period where he needed to bed in at Warrington there. But both players, especially Hill there at Warrington, done really, really well. Hilly just in the internationals has stepped up, not just being a Super League player, but an international player and shone within that. All in a real short space, not so long back was he playing in the Championship. So there's quite a few Championship players, and if I could give any of them advice, is don't give up, keep trying, it's up to Super League clubs to not look to overseas too often, although that will always be the case, and it's probably needed, but
it's up to Super League clubs to try and find the few gems that are in there.
Wigan coach Sean Wayne had big boots to fill when replacing Michael Maguire at the start of the year, but the local hero steered his side back to the top of the table. At times, Wigan were breathtaking, none more so than a 50-point hammering of Leeds.
What a night it has been for the side in cherry and white.
The Rhinos' revenge came first in the Challenge Cup semi-finals, and it's fair to say Wigan never really recovered. A record-breaking Super League comeback was needed to beat Hull KR, a result which clinched the league leaders' shield.
We've won the shield. It's what I wanted to do. I wanted to win the Manor Premiership and we showed consistency. But the manner we did it today, I'm still disappointed about.
Wigan had to negotiate the playoffs without the suspended Michael McAlorum. George Carmont's hat-trick helped them past Catalan, but without the injured Sam Tompkins, it was again the Rhinos who blocked Wigan's road to glory in 2012. The Challenge Cup was again claimed by Warrington, a third Wembley win in 4 years for Tony Smith, who followed up leading the Wolves to their first ever grand final.
We had a pretty good year in total. We was in both finals, managed to win Challenge Cup. We've come a bit short on the grand final, but no, we're pretty happy with the way the season went.
It's the first time the club's ever been there, so I suppose you can see it as a positive, really. Try and take what you can out of a negative, and it's only made us stronger to strive to get there back next year.
Now we've got that, we want that a little bit more, just to push that a little bit further, which hopefully next year we'll have the chance to do that. I think obviously the likes of Brett Hodgson's had a great season, and Lee Breers has been very, very good there throughout the season. You've obviously got to look at him and a few, but Benny Westwood forever is good.
Benny's an incredible athlete. It defies logic, really. He's not the best trainer or not got the best attitude, but come game day, he's an absolute machine, and this year's been probably one of his best years. I mean, he's incredibly consistent anyway, but this year he really has upped his game.
When we lost Louis Anderson to Catalan at the start of the season, people were thinking we might not have been able to fit that void of that back row player, and Trent Waterhouse coming in, I thought he was outstanding for us this year in his first season. He's got a young family as well, so he's brought a young family over with him and settled in really well, and I think he's had a really tremendous season.
St Helens had a new home. The spectacular Langtree Park finally opened its doors at the start of a new era for the club. Coach Roy Simmons oversaw a difficult start to the season. Saints won just 2 of their opening 7 matches, and the Australian left the club after just over a year in charge. Mike Rush and Kieran Cunningham took control for the rest of the season, conducting an impressive revival.
Lomax, they're going again here, it's another for Wellens! My word!
Key players this year, one of them has been James Roby. He's been phenomenal all year for us. He's consistently does the same things every week, which is so good to have in your team. You know that he's going to have that consistency of performance. Another one is probably a guy coming towards the end of his career, is Paul Wellens. I think people have been so quick to write maybe Paul off as being maybe in the twilight of his career. I think this year he's been one of the standout fullbacks in the Super League. After Sam Tompkins, I'd say Paul is up there with the best fullback in Super League. And, he's been great for us this year. And away from that, we've got so many good guys who are in good form. And one of the exciting things about St Helens is that we've got a number of young players coming into the team. The development of young players at this club has been great. And you look at the likes of Tommy Mixon on the wing, for me he's been a revelation and played really well, and Josh Jones, a young player. For me, I get excited when I see these young guys come into the team and perform, and not only perform, week in, week out, but in the big games perform, and those guys have probably been the most pleasing part of this season for me.
Not too many teams returned from the south of France with 2 points in their luggage. Only Saints and Wigan won there during the regular season. Dream Team listed Remy Castille and Scott Giroux inspired their side to some memorable moments, aided by the experience of Leon Price. Steve Menzies became Super League's oldest ever player. He'll be back again next year, but the Dragons simply ran out of steam in the playoffs. A heavy defeat at Wigan was followed by a bruising one against Leeds.
Restart is bounced safely enough by Maguire. Daly has made the break, taking on Green Shields, simply runs through it. Bailey's still going, and now has support from Danny Maguire, and Maguire will streak away for an easy finish.
Plenty have left the Dragons over the winter, including coach Trent Robinson, who's headed home to the NRL.
We've had snowstorms in Salford, sun in the south of France, and anyone who's at Wembley will remember the torrential downpour during the Challenge Cup final. But one thing has been a constant in every match, and that's try. Well, we certainly saw some cracking tries throughout the season, but in terms of quality overall, do you think it was a good season?
I think I've publicly said probably not as good as it has been. That doesn't mean to say it's not good. It's a great product is rugby league, but I think we have to look at the quality of the game week in, week out, and probably not so much the quality, the intensity of the game. So it's important that the people that make those decisions can have a look at how we achieve that.
Well, they are looking into the game. There's been a big report by Maurice Watkins. What would you like to see happen?
Oh gosh, they're going to need better brains than mine to change it around, but I certainly think they've got to look at the import structure, whether we're getting the right quality of imports. Is there another place where we can get more players from? I'll probably use South Africa as an example. Do we need to release some players from there? Are we overburdening our young players to get them through to the highest level very, very quickly? And there's a bit of fallout rate there. There's no doubt that a lot of clubs are producing a lot of good talent. But it's getting them through to the highest standard and finding more players, mechanisms to find more players we can get if we're going to stick with 14. Otherwise, I feel to raise the quality and raise the intensity, we've got to reduce the amount of clubs in Super League, but none of the Super League clubs will vote for that.
And that old chestnut, promotion and relegation, would you like to see that come back?
It depends under what guise it comes. There's no doubt the psyche of this country revolves around promotion and relegation. I think you've got to look at the mechanisms there as well. My belief is it should be a 2-year process so we don't get the yo-yo effect. I think that's one of the reasons why we went to franchising, obviously to improve the standards of the game, obviously to improve the stadium, obviously to improve the amount of money people are investing in the players. However, promotion and relegation and the yo-yo destabilises that bottom end. It's hard to plan to achieve anything, and you need time to plan. So I think we should look at a mechanism whereby either a playoff happens so you stay in or go out, or you look at every 2 years.
A season of great contrast for Huddersfield began with a surprise win over Wigan on the opening weekend, and after 13 rounds there was no stopping the table-topping Giants.
Moving it wide, this is good. Here comes George now. Look, George looks on his inside, then puts the kick on. George is after it and will score.
Need to keep getting better and competing in big games, and again it's about consistency, isn't it? And the good sides, those really top sides, like a Leeds who have won 4 grand finals, or Warrington who have won 2 or 3 trophies in the past few years, or Wigan who have won trophies, they're generally doing it over long periods, and that's the key for us.
That consistency never arrived for Nathan Brown. The coach took early leave on his way to St Helens, Paul Anderson taking over earlier than expected. Huddersfield won just 4 of their final 14 games in the regular season. A campaign that had promised much ended in a first-round playoff defeat at Hull FC. Peter Gentle brought smiles back to the west side of Hull. There was a derby double against their rivals from the opposite side of the city, and a rare win for the Black and Whites against Leeds.
It's a little offload from Manu to happen again, and they've got the numbers here of Hull. They've got the numbers, including Sharp on the far right-hand side, and Will Sharp's in.
Hull made it through to the second round of the playoffs, but there'll be new faces at the KC next year, including Gareth Ellis.
People spoke about Hull for years, about how much potential they've got, but they've probably never really come through. From the time, even in my first year at Leeds, when they beat us in the Challenge Cup final, people thought that might have been a turning point for the club, but never really happened, and they've sort of been happy just to make the playoffs, but not really make much of an impact in them. But from what I can take from speaking to Peter Gentle and the coaching staff is that they're a club really now that really wants to go forward.
Well, Kingston Rovers had the new management signs up too. Craig Sandercock failed to guide Rovers to the playoffs, but a run of 4 straight wins in the middle of the year had the Robins smiling for a short while.
He's with us once again, been at the heart of so much good work for Rovers, and this is Craig Hall running for space. He's going to go round the outside and cap this one off. 4 wins on the spin for Hull Kingston Rovers.
That was as good as it got for Rovers in 2012, and lessons will have to be learnt from some narrow defeats towards the back end of the season. The supporters with the most to smile about in the second half of 2012 were those from Wakefield. The Wildcats finally have the green light for a new stadium, and guided by the impressive Tim Smith, they eventually had a season to remember on the field as well. An often dramatic 7 straight wins took Wakefield into the top 8. A squad that barely knew each other at the start of the season made it all the way to the playoffs.
To go in the centre section, back to Paul Sykes, the kick is on its way, it's there! It's there! Paul Sykes has nailed it from 20 metres, there's 10 seconds to go, it's Wakefield 33, St Helens 32.
Back inside to Sykes, Sykes comes over, and Sykes has done it again! Hull Kingston Rovers 30, Wakefield Trinity Wildcats 31.
We seem to have found a formula that works, particularly in attack for ourselves, but then again our defensive structures enabled us to do that. We're all thrown together, not just to play inside, but the whole new coaching staff. Lee Smith came in not so long ago, and Paul Sykes, so it's not been a settled squad, if you like, throughout the season, which is the encouraging thing. We've sort of come together, worked hard together. That's one thing we wanted to do, was work hard as a group, and as the season's evolved, we've learned a little bit more about each other. We've certainly reflected that in some of our performances. The exciting thing is when we have a full pre-season together next year, who knows what could happen.
We've moved on to Odsal, where, quite frankly, they'll probably be rather pleased to see the back of 2012. The Bradford Bulls' financial problems cast a shadow over their entire season and over Super League as well.
Good morning. The West Yorkshire Rugby League team's on the verge of going bankrupt. The Bradford Bulls could go bust unless they raise £1 million, half of it by the middle of April.
One of the most famous teams in Rugby League is on the brink of collapse. Bradford Bulls say that their match on Good Friday against Leeds could be their last unless they raise £500,000 to solve their crippling cash problem.
We've got a plan to tackle it. We need some support from our stakeholders, whether it be supporters or sponsors, in the very near future. And the response we've had so far is fantastic. But yeah, it's a very serious situation. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Crisis is not over-exaggerating.
An iconic team in the game of rugby league, and I think it'd be very sad indeed if it goes under.
80 there with a hand.
An auction on Thursday night of memorabilia, including grand final winning shirts and rings, raised a further £28,000 in their bid for survival. Right up until kick-off buckets were being rattled. For the fans, uncertainty about the whole situation.
We never get to find out what's happening behind the scenes, so we only get what we're told, so we don't really know what's going on half the time.
I've been coming here since I was 12, I'm 29 now. It's just heart-wrenching. You see a club like this has been around for so long, and then you don't know what's going to happen. You're on a knife edge, it could go either way.
And the perilous state of Bradford Bulls' finances has come to a head today with the news that the club is now in the hands of administrators.
Initially we were told that the business needed £1 million, and the tremendous efforts the supporters raised half of that money prior to the change at the top taking place. We therefore came in believing that £500,000 was what was required to effectively match, I'm going to say, with a magnificent effort by the supporters. It's fair to say within 24 hours of getting in through the door, the position worsened by £360,000.
It means the club's run out of money and that the directors have been unsuccessful in raising finance to enable the company that operates the Bradford Bulls to continue. So I've been appointed administrator with a view to finding a buyer for the club.
The news tonight is that Bradford Bulls have made 16 members of staff, including their entire coaching team, redundant as they look to stave off the threat of liquidation.
For the whole staff, the whole coaching staff, to be told they're redundant was extraordinary. I think the majority of the staff in the office as well were told they no longer have a job. It's disappointing to say the least.
I don't believe what you've just said. You sacked our coach because you've got somebody who'll come and do it for no.
I've got no choice. The cuts that I need to make to reduce the amount of cash I've got to find have to fall on senior staff.
The mood, to be fair, is very mixed. Everybody, is feeling a little bit frustrated, quite emotional at the loss of friends and staff yesterday. As I said, we're a very close-knit unit at Bradford, and see people lose their jobs, and they've got families to provide for, and see that happen, to see your friends and people involved is hard to take.
There were emotional scenes at the end of Bradford's game against London. Mick Potter and a number of the Bradford employees had returned to the club in order to get the game on. 16 members of the club's non-playing staff were made redundant last week as the club tries to stave off the threat of liquidation.
In Super League, Bradford Bulls have been handed their dreaded points deduction today. It's the expected sporting punishment for the club having gone into administration, but they've been hit by the maximum 6-point penalty with immediate effect.
From word go, as soon as we found out, what was going on, the teams kind of stuck together and we said there's nothing that we can do to affect the outcome of that other than going out on a field and playing as well as we can.
There's been a dramatic development tonight in the long-running saga over the future of the beleaguered Bradford Bulls. Local businessman Omar Khan has confirmed to Look North that he's the club's new owner.
Good afternoon. Bradford Bulls fans are being told to relax a bit. Now the club's out of administration and has got new owners.
In a strange kind of way, it's been good. It cut a lot of the peripheral things out and it just focused everyone on the rugby and the training and how we was going to get the points. And there's been a lot of players showed a lot of character and a lot of will to play for the club and the fans, because the fans have been terrific this year. And hopefully they'll want a little bit more of that, because that's got to be the standard from now on.
Well, I'm joined by the honorary chairman of the Bradford Bulls, Jerry Sutcliffe. Jerry, you looked on from the outside as it was starting to unravel. Why did you decide to get involved?
Well, this is a great club with a great tradition in a great city, and it would have been a travesty had it gone under, because it's not just about the rugby club, although it is, but it's about the city and the regeneration of the city. And I felt it was an important part of the city's heritage to keep the Bulls going, and I'm glad that Omar Khan agreed.
As somebody who's come from outside rugby league in, what do you think the sport can learn from the plight of the Bulls?
I think there's a big issue, not just for rugby league, but for other sports as well, about how you have to be professional in terms of the governing body. And I'm not saying that they're not professional, but they have to learn lessons about how sport is moving forward, how spectators expect a good product, expect to visit a ground that has the right facilities and all of that. But I also believe it's got to make sure that the competition is a good one, that people can play a fair competition, that you don't have a small elite at the top and the rest suffering. So I think we've got to look at, and we can learn some lessons in terms of the game itself, but I also think in terms of financial management, clearly the Rugby League gave this club a Category B licence for Super League, and the problems were undoubtedly there at that time. So I think there are issues around that the game has got to learn the lessons from. And we're waiting for the administrator's report, because I do believe that will show some real problems in terms of how this business was run.
And do you fear that other clubs might be teetering on the brink, a la the Bulls?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously we concentrated on this club, but I mean, I suspect there are similar issues around other clubs, and I think the time is right now to sit down, take a root and branch look at the game, because I think it's a fantastic game, a fantastic product, and I think we will see that here next year when people will come back to watch a great product. But I think the game has got to learn the lesson.
Salford face an uncertain financial future after a difficult first season in their new home. On the field, though, the influence of new coach Phil Vivers and assistant Sean Long was clear in the opening rounds.
Good hands here along the line, Joel Moon. Good offload for Broughton. Jody Broughton.
I'm still trying to promote and tell the boys, do a bit off the cuff, and we'll call it ad-lib footy. We scored some real good tries.
Probably one of my favourites was the first game of the season against Castleford, and the conditions what we played against. You know, we played against Castle, tough opposition. It was bad conditions, about 3 inch in snow, and we probably scored one of the tries of the season. I think it went through the hands in our own half, and then Matthias just got it and ended up scoring in the corner. But it's a team try, it's not individual. We've not got a load of individuals. We have to play as a team to get where we want to be.
Castleford ended the campaign with just 6 wins to their name. A disappointing first year in charge for Ian Millward, despite an impressive start in the snow at Salford.
Here comes the last, Castleford. One final chance in this set. Lovely little kick by Rangi Chase. Chased and scored by Adam Milner.
2011 Man of Steel Rangi Chase was again at the centre of everything for Cass, on and off the pitch. Wins against Wakefield and impressively against Huddersfield provided rare, memorable moments for the Tigers in 2012. London coach Rob Powell failed to see out the season in the capital. Tony Ray returned to the renamed Broncos and had an immediate impact on results.
The long-term future of the club is clear. The owner is investing at the levels competitive with everybody else, so that intent's clear. You know, and the reason I guess I'm here is that intent hasn't been delivered. There doesn't seem to be a real problem with liking each other and morale and team. There's good agility, there's some good energy there. We've got some good playmakers that can, you know, make some good decisions. So the shell's there, it just needs pointing in the right direction.
Comes a break by Krasnicki. Support to his right-hand side. Inevitably, it's Luke Gorn. His 4th try of the night. 8 in 2 games. It's going to be 38 unanswered points in this second half by London. Astonishing.
4 wins from their last 5 matches brought the smiles back to London and kept them off the bottom. Returning to Super League for the first time in 7 years, it was inevitably a steep learning curve for Widnes and coach Dennis Betts, whose 6-week wait for a win ended in dramatic fashion against Wigan.
O'Brien now at dummy half. Back it comes to White, who goes for the one-pointer, and incredibly, Widnes lead.
The real positives of this year have been that we have got better. We've actually seen that there's some rewards in the work we've done. We've stayed true to what we were working on. We've not broken it all up when we were getting beaten quite heavily early on in the year. We had a belief in the way that we wanted to defend and the way we wanted to attack. It just took a little bit of getting connected to each other, a little bit of experience of working with each other as a group, and we stayed true to that. So that's been a real positive about what we've done this year, and to see ourselves actually grow as a team. But we are getting closer to where we want to be, and a couple more quality players next year to push our standards up again. Plus the season behind us of experience, I think that will help us next year.
There were plenty of candidates for match of the season. Catalan's dramatic victory over St Helens and the bruising battle between Leeds and Wigan in the playoff semi-final spring to mind. But in the Manchester sunshine, there was the Hull derby, a game that had just about everything.
Martin to his feet. Here's Seymour. Little pass to his right, which is taken on a stride or two by Lynch, who loves to get their left arm free and offload it and keep Hull on their way here. Well, Tickle's done well to keep it alive. A super pass between the legs. Here's Jordan Turner. Turner's away, has support from Sharp. Well recovered by Chris Wellham. Dobson's down there as well. It's a penalty. Holding down. Oh, it's a yellow card. It's a yellow card. 10 minutes played. And Michael Dobson is sin bin here for holding down. Well, it seems more than a little harsh. But a penalty for Hull. First drive by Tickle. Here's Danny Houghton. Seymour carrying it in. Driven forward by Sam Moore. This is Houghton. This is Seymour through the gap where Dobson might have stood had he still been on the field. Hull get first blood. Josh Hodgson. Well, they'll be anxious that they don't concede any more points while Dobson is still in the sin bin here, Hull Kingston Rovers. And if they can add some of their own, that would be a real bonus as well. Here comes Craig Hall. Oh, good handoff by Hall, and away he goes. He's a classy player, is Craig Hall. It's going to be one of those days. Dobson, freshly back on the field. Happy the fact that his side is still at parity. 6 points apiece. It's a good pass to Hall, back on the inside for Shannon MacDonald. Good hands again from Craig Hall. MacDonald anticipated it. And the whole defence is beaten again. Well, it's been a tough old battle, this. It really has. Just about 25 minutes played, and it's as you would expect. Two sides who are giving naught and taking naught. Here comes Tony Martin, has support on the outside from Tom Briscoe, who again has support from Richard Horn. And Hull FC looking to pull it level again with one of the tries of the game so far. Stanley Houghton. This is Seymour. Taking it in the tough way. Brett Seymour, he's kept it alive as well enough. Aspinwall. Well, they're getting close. It's Westerman. Seymour, little chip by him. Willie Manu flying and catching and putting a smile on the face of his coach. Here's Withers. Nice little lead step back on the inside again. They're threatening here, but Hull's defence is hanging on. Lincoln Withers is the man at dummy half. Left it goes. Dobson, there's the overlap. Here's Hodgson. David Hodgson in at the corner. Liam Kent. Well, they're looking, almost giving the ball away there, Hull FC, but keeping it alive. Turner stumbles. Dobson's onto him. So 4 gone, couple to go here. Seymour, dummies to Warren, then spinning it out to Willie Manu, the excellent Willie Manu. Again draws his man, here's Tony Martin, between the two defenders. Hull stretching their lead, and they're loving every moment of this just at the moment, the black and whites. Manu's eventually held. Stanley Houghton scooting away from dummy half. Trying to get them going again. Houghton, Seymour. Seymour with a little kick. It's allowed to bounce awkwardly. Turner scores. Has he? All eyes on the referee. He's giving it. Steve Ganson gives it. Well, surely Hull now are turning the screw. 14 minutes to play. 14 points the difference. But Hull Kingston Rovers, it would seem, are not giving this one up just at the moment. Scott Taylor put down. Lincoln Withers spins it out. Wide it comes. Oh, lovely flick again, and Sam Lattis is in. They haven't given it up. There is still a semblance of belief here. Here's Withers. 8 minutes to play. It's getting just a little desperate at the moment, both in attack and defence. Here's the last. Big tackle here. Hull hold them out. You feel they've won the game. Spinning it to Dobson. Back to Lovegrove. Reece Lovegrove pops it up. Dobson is in. What a dive. And what a score. And what a game we've got now. Dobson's goal will put Hull Kingston Rovers within 2 points of this. Excellent anticipation here, Lovegrove. Oh, it's forward, and it's forward by a distance. What a stroke of luck that was for Hull Kingston Rovers. Just about a minute left to play. There's a frenzied atmosphere all around this stadium. 2 points in it, and these are the dying seconds now. Here's Dobson. Quick hands away by MacDonald. Wellham on now. Taken by David Hodgson. He's got the outside of Will Sharp. And David Hodgson is away. What a finish. What a win. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. As good a try as you'll see all weekend. And it's a try that wins the game. In the most sensational of circumstances. Hull FC cannot believe it. Well, some super wing play here by David Hodgson. Good play in the build-up. But he stands up Seymour. He stands up Sharp. He has the pace to go all the way. Hull Kingston Rovers. Absolutely unbelievable. Heartbreak for Hull FC.
Well, with me is Earl Crabtree from the Huddersfield Giants. Earl, have there been enough great moments this season to make it a great season?
It's been a fantastic season. I think there's been some really good moments throughout, but I wouldn't say great. I think there's still a lot more to come from Super League, especially next season. I think it'll step up yet again. Going into the World Cup, there's a lot of players out there trying to put their hands up, trying to get into the World Cup squad. So I'm expecting a better year next year.
A couple of teams disappointed last season. Would you expect them to make strides forward in 2013?
Yeah, and I think one of those is probably ourselves. Huddersfield Giants, we had a very disappointing season, started very well, and there's a few others as well. I think even Hull, they were starting to show a lot of promise but didn't quite get as far as probably they wanted to, and there's probably a few more around that mark as well, and it'd be interesting to see where these teams come next year, and especially the lower ones down, see if they can progress.
It's been announced that the Magic Weekend's going to be back at the Etihad for the next couple of seasons. Is that something you welcome?
Yeah, I am. It was a fantastic experience playing there. It's one of those venues that as a player you'd love to play in, and I've been very fortunate to actually play. Scored a couple of tries there on the day as well, so I was very happy, but it was absolutely red hot, so I'm not looking forward to that experience. I hope it's a bit cooler, but even so, the crowd was amazing, and hopefully we get a few more people down there and they buy into the product that we've got.
So 2012 is almost done and dusted. What will the new year have in store? Well, there's already been some interesting transfer business, and at the end of the season, the World Cup.
It's a big year ahead. There's a massive carrot dangling in front of everybody, and everybody wants to play in a World Cup and represent the country, and it's no better than to have it in the UK, and it's a huge opportunity for everybody.
It's an opportunity for us as a national side to sort of stamp a bit of authority. For too many years now we've been playing, chasing the Aussies and Kiwis, and I think we're bridging that gap. And I think as a national side we always perform best on home soil, so I think if we're going to win a World Cup, this is the one.
Well, it's been a long season this season. 2013 is going to be even longer. The World Cup doesn't finish till November the 30th. Is it too much for you guys?
Every year I do talk about the Easter period and also the extra game with Etihad, and you know, it is difficult. It's very demanding on the players, especially when you get to the end of the season. For me personally, I needed 3 operations at the end of the year, and that's just testament to how rugby players play the game. You know, people don't realise how tough it is. Going into next year, it's going to be a very tough game. Probably is too long, but the lads all want to play in the World Cup, and that's what's most important. So none of us, I don't think, will moan about that fact, but it's something that probably needs to be addressed in the future.
It is so enticing, isn't it, to be part of that World Cup squad. You had to sit and watch England this year, but what did you make of them?
Yeah, the look's very good actually, very well organised and seem to gel together, and I think that's the biggest thing. But also the younger players coming through, we've got a lot of talent coming through. It's not the old faithful that we've had to stick with throughout the past years where they've not quite achieved what we wanted to achieve. There's a lot of lads now knocking on the door, and that's what's exciting about rugby league in England at the moment.
You've been banging the drum for the World Cup, went down to Downing Street and everything. What's been the reaction to it?
It's been fantastic, really. You know, everyone's talking about it, and this is our opportunity as a rugby league nation, is to make it so high profile, make people take notice of this product that we keep talking about, because it's so exciting and everyone wants it to do well, but we just can't get to where we want to be, and this is the opportunity. Everyone's really excited. Going down to Downing Street was a pleasure for myself, and one of those things I'm very grateful for being able to be given the opportunity to do. So hopefully, you know, we keep taking it forward and it just gets bigger.
And there's been a few high-profile signings, quite a lot of movement in between the clubs. Has there been any moves that have particularly caught your eye?
Obviously there's been quite a few decent moves. Stuart Fielden coming to us is another interesting one, with a Kumatai as well, but Gaz Ellis going back to Hull, I think that's a fantastic one. No one probably expected him to go there, but that shows the ambition of Hull and where they want to go themselves.
And what about your own fitness? You said you had 3 operations. Are you going to be all right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to ripping back in again. It's just maintenance at the end of the year, a couple of clean-outs, and I'll be raring to go with the first game of the season. Looking forward to putting in another good year and then making the World Cup squad at the end of the year.
Well, my thanks to Earl Crabtree. We will see you next season, but let's leave you with some of the defining images of 2012. Goodbye.